I'm Jim Konieczny with Hewitt Associates, and I'm president of HR BPO services. You know, it's hard to answer that question. I think it depends. It depends on what they're trying to accomplish, and that's what they need to define up front, is what are they trying to accomplish to determine whether outsourcing is right. Which could be a number of reasons, right? It could be because they're looking to have their people focus more on the strategic and eliminate some of the transaction processing, some of the follow-up that goes with that, some of the data mining, and to pass that on to somebody else. Sometimes it goes along cost savings, so they're looking to save some money. And so that's another reason to outsource, or maybe it could be because they're looking at potentially having some internal compliance issues, want to outsource with somebody who's going to keep them on top of statutory and regulatory requirements. Or they could be at a technology inflection point where they're really saying, hey, we've got a system today, we've had this system for 5-10 years, it's outdated, we need to go to something else. Do we buy something and own it, or do we go ahead and outsource the work to somebody else who's already made those capital investments, and we can take advantage of that and hopefully save some money? Once they know those reasons, is determine, okay, if we're going to do this now, we know the reason, say it's to save money. So they must benchmark internally and then measure that against what an outsourcing provider is going to provide to determine if it's right for them. I think when you think about mistakes, I think it varies, but a couple of things that I run into. One is the management of the change itself, and making sure that if you are the company that's doing the outsourcing, that you have talked to or notified your employees, your managers, your HR professionals, your executives, that this is what you're going to do, what it means for the organization, what's in it for them, and what's going to change. Because in some cases it may mean where before they sent in some paper maybe to their manager to get something processed, now maybe they've got to go to a portal, and the expectation is that they're going to process these transactions themselves. So it's extremely important to make sure you've got proper change management. The other pitfall I sometimes see is where you reach an agreement with an outsourcer, but neither one has done their homework on exactly what it is that's going to be done and how it's going to be done. So in other words, the details, the statement of work. I think making sure as an outsourcing provider you've looked at it, you know what's expected, you've laid that out, you've defined it, you've documented it, making sure you know how you're going to measure it in order to achieve the expected outcomes. And then for the company that's doing the outsourcing, I think they need to make sure they do their due to make sure that they have the capabilities and the people in order to perform the work.